Right now, tonight, if you walked outside and looked up, you would see maybe a few dozen stars, maybe less if you live in a city. That's normal to you. That's just what the sky looks like. But that is not what the sky looked like for 300,000 years of human history. For almost the entire time our species has existed, every single person who ever lived looked up and saw something so overwhelming, so bright, so full of detail, that we don't actually have a modern experience to compare it to. Not one. Because the sky they saw is gone. Not destroyed. Just covered up. And most people alive today have never seen it. Not even once. Let's go back and actually look at it. Picture a person lying on the ground 40,000 years ago. No fire nearby, no torches, nothing artificial, casting light anywhere for hundreds of miles. They look up. The first thing they'd notice isn't a few stars scattered around. It's a band. A thick glowing river of light stretching from one horizon to the other. So bright, it casts a faint shadow on the ground. That's the Milky Way. Not a faint smudge you need a photo to see. A structure, visible with the naked eye, dominating the entire sky. Now here's the strange part. They had no idea what it was. They didn't know it was billions of stars. They didn't know stars were suns. They didn't know Earth was a planet, moving, spinning, orbiting, anything. As far as they could tell, they were lying still under a dome. And that dome was alive. Try to imagine that feeling for a second. You don't know what the lights are. You don't know if they can hurt you. You don't know if they're watching you. All you know is that this happens every single night, without fail. And it is enormous. That's the first thing ancient humans had to deal with. That we never do. The sky was not decoration. It was a mystery with consequences. Because here's what happens when you don't understand something that big. You start looking for patterns, and the brain is extremely good at finding patterns, even when there aren't any. So people started connecting the dots. Literally, a cluster of stars looked like a hunter, another looked like a bear, another looked like a scorpion. These weren't just pretty shapes. They were the first attempt in human history to make an unpredictable universe feel predictable. And once you name something, you can track it, which is exactly what happened next. And it changed everything. Ancient humans noticed something that should sound impossible if you've never thought about it before. The sky moves in a schedule. Not randomly, not chaotically. On a schedule so precise, you could set your life by it. Certain stars only appeared right before the flood season. Certain constellations vanished right before winter. The position of the sun on the horizon at sunrise shifted slowly, all year, then reversed. So people did something remarkable. They turned the sky into a calendar. Not a metaphorical one. An actual working calendar, thousands of years before anyone invented paper. Farmers in ancient Egypt didn't check a date to know when the Nile would flood. They watched for one specific star, Sirius, to reappear on the horizon after being hidden for months. When it showed up again, they knew almost to the day that the flood was coming. Get that timing wrong, and your crops fail. Your people starve. Think about that. The difference between survival and famine was written in the stars, not poetically, literally. But it wasn't all calm observation. Some nights, the sky did something that broke every rule they thought they understood. Imagine you're one of these people, and you've spent your whole life watching the same predictable patterns. Then, one afternoon, without warning, the sun disappears. In the middle of the day, the temperature drops, animals go silent, and a black circle slowly swallows the sun whole. No calendar, no warning system. Nothing in their understanding of the world prepared them for a solar eclipse. Across completely unconnected cultures, Chinese, Norse, Mayan, West African, the reaction was almost identical. Something is eating the sun. Some cultures banged drums and screamed to scare the creature away. And when the sun reappeared minutes later, they believed they had actually saved it. Here's the part that should genuinely unsettle you. They were half right. Something predictable really was happening. They just had zero way of knowing it was the moon casually passing in front of the sun, a coincidence of size and distance so exact that from Earth, the two objects appear almost the same size in the sky. That single coincidence is why eclipses look the way they do at all. Change that ratio slightly, and this entire chapter of human history never happens. And eclipses weren't even the most feared event. There was something worse. Every so often, a light would appear that hadn't been there the night before, smeared, glowing, dragging a tail across the sky for days or weeks. A comet. Unlike a star, it didn't follow the pattern. It didn't belong to a species that had just spent thousands of years building trust in the sky's predictability. This was the ultimate violation of the rules. Almost every ancient culture read comets the same way, as an omen, a warning. Kings died, wars started. And every time, someone pointed at the sky and said, "We knew this was coming." Were they right? No, but they weren't wrong to be afraid of the unknown. They just didn't have the one thing that would have changed everything: time. Because slowly, generation after generation, watching the same sky, a few civilizations started asking a different question. Not, what does this mean? But what is actually happening? Babylonian astronomers, over 1,000 years before telescopes existed, tracked planetary movements so precisely they could predict eclipses in advance. Not guess, predict. Which meant, for the first time in human history, someone looked at the most terrifying event in the sky and said calmly, "That's going to happen on this exact day. And it's not a monster." That single shift from fear to prediction is arguably one of the most important moments in the history of human thought. It's the difference between reacting to the universe and understanding it. And that understanding kept building, century after century, until eventually we figured out the sky wasn't a dome at all. Those weren't holes in a ceiling. They were suns. Some far bigger than ours, so far away that the light hitting your eyes tonight left that star before humans had even invented writing. The sky ancient humans feared wasn't a threat. It was a message, sent so long ago that by the time it arrived, the thing that sent it may not even exist anymore. Here's where it gets uncomfortable. That sky, the one with the visible galaxy, the thousands of stars, the sense of being inside something enormous, is still up there right now. Tonight, above your head. It hasn't gone anywhere, but roughly 80% of people on Earth today live under skies too polluted with artificial light to see it. Some children alive right now will grow up and never once see the Milky Way with their own eyes. Not because it disappeared, because we buried it in light. For 300,000 years, every human ancestor you have ever descended from looked up and saw the true scale of the universe every single night, whether they understood it or not. It shaped their calendars, their gods, their fears, their myths, their entire sense of their place in existence. We are the first humans in that entire chain who mostly can't see it anymore. So the next time you're somewhere dark, really dark, far from a city or town, look up. Not because you'll learn something new, but because for one night, you'll be seeing exactly what every single one of your ancestors saw for 250,000 years before it was quietly taken away from almost everyone alive today.